Welcome to Drop the Needle with Saph, and today's album will be Tell Me You Love Me by Demi Lovato. I chose this album to do next because this album is a foundational part of my music taste. I heard it first in 7th grade, right after Region Band, and I got in the car, and my parents were like, bro, you have to listen to this. And they played me this album. My parents were very much R&B people, and I was just starting to get my own taste in music. Them introducing this album to me changed my life. So yeah, I want to do this album because it means a lot to me. And let's get started. So, Tell Me You Love Me by Demi Lovato. It was released September 29th, 2017. It is her 6th studio album. And it is described as flinty, flirty R&B that's just as thrilling hushed as it is as full blast. Genre is R&B and pop. So for some context behind this album, I watched the Simply Complicated documentary that came out around the era of this album, which was 2017, 2018-ish, I think. And she goes over her history with drugs and addiction. She was talking about her big break in acting, which was Camp Rock. She talks about how she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and she talks about her first time being checked into rehab. She was saying that she was super reckless before she got the help that she needed, before the first time she was checked in rehab. And so I watched that documentary, and then a few years ago in 2020 when the Dancing with the Devil documentary came out, she talks about her OD, about literally just that time. She OD'd in 2018, and I personally think that she will never go back to R&B because this is her only R&B album. And I don't think she'll ever go back to R&B again because during this tour is when she started practicing moderation, fill my air quotes. And that's what led her to end up ODing because for an addict, she says that a little, she'll immediately relapse. And literally in the song Dancing with the Devil that came out with that documentary, she says, in the song, she says, a little red wine, I'll be fine. That red wine turns into a little glass pipe. So she knows that she can't, do it in moderation or be California sober. So let's get into this album specifically. She starts off with Sorry Not Sorry, which is the lead single off this album. And I remember hearing this. I remember literally watching this music video on the bus almost every day, every morning, every day after school, because she looked so good. I just wanted to be her. She looked so good. And then just the music, and it was a huge house party. This music video was a huge house party that she threw, and then they filmed it. And it was so cool. I thought it was so cool. I just wanted to be her. I'm like, she's so cool. So this song is described as a defiant gospel pop kiss off. And so she goes into I know you're feeling bad because you dropped me, but I'm out here looking like a bad bitch. And, but yeah, the whole album, this whole song is I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. And there's one lyric that says, oh, being so bad got me feeling so good, showing you up like I knew that I would. And hopefully that doesn't refer to her starting to get back into, rebelling against her old team and getting back into her old habits, because her team that she had was so strict for 6 years, the 6 years that she was sober. She OD'd a month after she was 6 years sober. It's because her team was so strict. When she got super restrictive, which she was for 6 years, she couldn't have regular cake on her birthday. She had watermelon cake. And that's a huge thing in her community. When she celebrates her birthday now and people see cakes, now everyone's like, yay, that, watermelon cake, I'm feeling this lyric is just being so bad got me feeling so good, showing you up like I knew that I would. I feel I hope that that's not her starting to get into I could do things in moderation and be fine. So let's get into the next song, which is Tell Me You Love Me. So Tell Me You Love Me is the first promotional single. So Sorry Not Sorry was the lead single. Tell Me You Love Me is the first promotional single. And it's a different part, it's vulnerable. Even though it's a single and it's pretty loud and stuff, it's super vulnerable. This might be about Wilmer Valderrama. For people who don't know, her and Wilmer go way back. So she has a song recently within the last 2 years called 29, and in that song she says, I'm finally 29. 17 would never cross my mind, because when Wilmer and she met, she was 17 and he was 29, and she's talked about in old interviews that like he would be like, get away from me, like you're dangerous for me. And they started dating like as soon as she was of age, and they've been on and off for a while. And then after she OD'd, I remember it was huge news that he went and visited her in the hospital when she was unconscious. And I think this music video, it's like a wedding, actually. So maybe she was daydreaming about her wedding with Wilmer that never really happened. Okay, let's get into the next song. This song is called Sexy Dirty Love. And so we start the album with 2 singles. Actually, so Sexy Dirty Love is the 3rd promotional single. And so we hit the ground running with the first 3 tracks. We haven't gotten into this R&B feel. We have like a little bit of like R&B elements, but we don't have the feel yet, but I like promise you we're going to get to it. So Sexy Dirty Love is more on the pop side, and this is described as builds a pre-chorus around an extended addiction metaphor. It has a late 90s, early naughty vibe going on, a bit of pop. She gets into the song later in the album talking about her daddy issues, and I feel like this is the daddy issues in full effect. She's like, you're my new obsession. I'm addicted to you, because like she's so addicted to the attention that she's getting from this male entity. It's insane to me how daddy issues does play out in somebody's life. And before she even addresses daddy issues, and then later in the album with a song called Daddy Issues, she is like spelling it out right then and there, exactly how they play in her life. So next song is You Don't Do It For Me Anymore. And this song I really love, my parents really like, because Demi Lovato can sing. This song has some gorgeous riffs. If you're wanting to hear Demi sing, I feel like you should listen to the song, because in the chorus she has some like gorgeous runs. I mean, gorgeous. And this is described as a nice soulful chorus. During the Simply Complicated documentary, she was showing some of her in the studio, and for this song she was doing take after take to get the best line, to get the best riff, and all of them sounded gorgeous, but she was really, really trying. She wanted to get the best one. So this song, I was reading a review about it, and it said like she's doing too much. I was like, no, she's not. No, it's gorgeous. And like I said, if you are wanting to listen to someone sing, it's this song. And she has such a powerful voice that I never realized that she did have. I knew she could sing. You hear the soul in someone's voice, and hers, she has a gorgeous voice. I knew it when I listened to this album, and I also knew it when she performed Anyone at the 2020 Grammys. It was her first performance right after the OD, and she was so caught up by emotion that she started it and then had to stop and restart it, but she got a standing ovation at the end because it was just a gorgeous performance. I feel like you should go watch that. So next song is Daddy Issues. And again, we haven't really hit much besides You Don't Do It For Me Anymore. We haven't hit much R&B in my opinion. It's still more like pop with R&B elements, or R&B with pop elements. And Daddy Issues is still very much a pop song with R&B elements, but I love it. So this is described as is remarkably frothy for someone whose recent albums feature dramatic accounts of her relationship with her late estranged father. This song was produced by Oak Felder and Zaire Kahlo. It's described as flawless and bop and a half, and it does have some pop music in it. She's saying that, like, lucky for you, I have all these daddy issues, and you're getting a person who really doesn't care about themselves and only wants your attention. And obviously it's playing out for her well in sexual scenarios, but it didn't take a good toll on her mental health, as we can see, I saw in the documentaries that I watched. And she talks about in the Dancing with the Devil documentary that came out in 2020 about her father and her mixed complication, like feelings about him. The next song is Ruin the Friendship. This song is what is the foundation for my music taste. If you don't listen to any other song on this album, listen to this one. When I heard this, I was like, Demi, what? I thought you were a pop girly. What do you mean you have this perfectly gorgeous R&B song written about your friendship with Nick Jonas? It is described as smolders like something cut from Crazy Sexy Cool, which is TLC, willing to throw away a perfectly good platonic relationship, smooth, sultry, and seductive. Now, we're getting into the bridge, and I don't know I can't confirm if this was intentional or not, but she spells her name and Nick Jonas's name in this. So the next song that it is one of my favorite songs on this album too, is called Only Forever. And this is described as Demi casually proving she has got the art of a sensual ballad down. High register of her voice beautifully soars over the deep beats. She flirts with R&B and hip-hop here, and it works. In the Simply Complicated documentary, it was said that it was produced by Oak Felder, but this is also such a good, sensual, good R&B song. Let's go into the next song. This next song is called Lonely, and it's featuring Lil Wayne. This is like your textbook, what I called toxic R&B, where they just talk about sex. But this one is a little bit more tasteful than that. It was produced by DJ Mustard, and it says lonely stuns without, feeling remotely showy, growled F-bombs aside. Lovato and Lil Wayne, poking his head in for a moody, warbling verse, make a surprisingly good team. And yes, they do. This also is addressing her daddy issues. Like, you knew that I always needed saving. She still is seeking being saved in men. But yeah, this is a really good song. This is, if you're looking for more of like a just R&B, like what I call toxic R&B, this is a good song, but I always will recommend Ruin the Friendship forever and always. All right, let's get into the next song, which is Crybaby. This one's a little bit of a rock vibe. This is described as like one of the best choruses on the record, both lyrically and melodically. It is big and vivacious with a feisty yet fragile vibe. All right, next song is Games. This one is again like a classic to me, like kind of like not toxic R&B, but a good R&B song. It has some great, like the production on the song is amazing to me. So this is described as is studded with goofy, giddy ad-libs. Lovato's very own take on Genuine's Pony. The production and the verses sound vaguely similar. Games is an urban-inspired pop song with a thick beat and swinging chorus. Very thick beat. So this is a very playful song. Then, okay, so we go into Concentrate, which is, we're kind of winding down the album. It's just her and like a guitar. And so this is described as the influence of Frank Ocean's instant classic Blonde, trickling down into laid-back deep cuts like Concentrate and Hitchhiker. This one's called it's a bedroom anthem. This is a good, like, especially coming from Games, it's a very slowed down, slower vibe, but I really like it because we're about to end the album. Because the next song is Hitchhiker, which is arguably pretty similar to Concentrate, maybe because they're two slower songs right next to each other at the very end of the album. But I really like the song Hitchhiker. It's described as take on an emotional leap with a stranger, like a hitchhiker, because she knows she can always rely on herself. The perfect album closer, a laid-back and soulful guitar pop song with the chorus in the right place, and easily one of Demi's best vocal performances on the record. I personally think You Don't Do It For Me is one of her best ones on the record, but Hitchhiker is a really good way to close the album. So she's putting her whole trust and faith in this person, and maybe it's because she trusts that she'll be, like, she trusts herself enough to make this judgment. But from an outside perspective, I don't think she should be trusting herself, because this whole album she's been talking about, you know, how she becomes so easily obsessed with any person who gives her attention, specifically men, and she's doing it here. She's like, oh, I don't care if my heart's in danger. She's literally like just looking at him, like I see her just looking at him like so endearing, just like, Oh, I trust you completely. This complete stranger that she should not be trusting. And I feel like it's a great way to end the album. I personally love an album that ends on a slow, more chill note because I want it to resonate, you know? I can't have like a really hyped up song at the end of the album because then I'm like it's like anticlimactic. I want it to hit and I want to cry when the album's over because I want it to be sad that it's ended. I feel like this is a good album closer for what she gave us, and it was really good. I love this album. It means a lot to me. Like I said, this is like a foundational album for my music taste. So I wanted to do like an honorable mention for the artists. So my honorable mention for Demi Lovato is The Art of Starting Over. This song is from the album that came after Tell Me You Love Me. Because after Tell Me You Love Me, she went on tour, she overdosed, quarantine, and then during quarantine is when she filmed the Dancing with the Devil documentary. And the album that came after that was Dancing with the Devil, ... The Art of Starting Over. And it's about like before and after the OD, basically. And The Art of Starting Over is a cute little vibe. It is not R&B, it's more pop, but she's just talking about like the art of starting over. Like I love being able to start from scratch, and I'm glad that she had that mindset after overdose. So that's a good one that if you want to check out. Reviews, the only review I could really find was Pitchfork and rated it a 7.2 out of 10. Anyway, thank you for listening to Drop the Needle with Saph. I do have an Instagram. It is at Drop the Needle with Saph, all lowercase. I do have a TikTok. It is at Drop the Needle with, all lowercase. Please text me and flood my DMs with album recommendations or just your overall thoughts about my podcast. I am always looking for suggestions to improve and what y'all would like to hear, because I know I'm going over my albums. I would love for people to send me album recommendations to do and to listen to and just talk about. I have a whole list of albums that I'm wanting to do, but I do not mind adding more to that list. Thank you for listening, and this is Drop the Needle with Saph.